Okay, welcome to Tamarah's Closet today. I have an extremely talented man with me today, joining me here from New Jersey. This year marks his 60th anniversary in the entertainment business, so I'm very excited to have him here today. He is currently the producing artistic director, and he's this is his 60th year, and he started playing actually professionally in bands at age 13. He continued with that endeavor throughout high school, and we're going to get into the questions because I'm really excited. He's done so much. It's just hard to go over everything he's done. He got two music degrees, voice performance and instrumental education, and we're just very excited to have him here today. So I want to welcome Steve Steiner. Steve, can you still hear and see me?
I can still hear and see you. You bet I can.
Good. Okay. You've done so much. It's hard. I just want to get into the questions and talk about it because, or we'll be here forever. So
That's fine.
I know you're amazing. So, what's your earliest memory, Steve, before you were 13, that you were attracted to the music or entertainment world?
Probably first grade. I mean, I enjoyed even pre kindergarten and kindergarten years. I certainly enjoyed music and what have you. But I remember in a singing class in first grade being singled out by the teacher as being able to sing very, very well, and she was kind of surprised, and it just made sense to me. I don't know.
That's really wonderful. Was there a background of arts in your family, like your parents or any family members?
Not at all.
Oh,
Yeah, I think when my mom was young, she probably had some tendencies to being able to do some musical things, but she never carried through with that. When she was in high school or anything, and certainly was not even a avocational performer. And my dad, interestingly enough, had a voice very similar to mine, but never schooled it for singing. I mean, we he spoke very much the way I speak, and but he never sang at all except in church.
gosh, that's amazing, though. I mean, singing is just not everybody has that talent. But when you started early,
Hmm.
and your bio said you played in a professionally in a band, and you were only 13 then. How
Yeah,
did
I mean, we were all high school students, or barely high school students. I think I was a freshman in high school, a little younger than some of the other kids because I didn't take fourth grade. But we had a band and we played uh, gigs before they were called gigs. It was that long ago. And I remember on several occasions playing like a high school dance, or playing uh, a grand opening of a discount store. We were out in the parking lot, you name it. But yeah, that's we did start doing that. Now, you asked what instrument I played, and I was a bass player, and I was the bass player because these guys that I was in high school with wanted to form a band, and they all played guitars and keyboards and drums, and they didn't have a bass player. So I said, "Well, I'll get one and I'll play. I'll learn how to play," and so I did.
that's incredible. What did your parents think about you with all these interests in music and the arts? Were they supportive or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely supportive of anything I wanted to do, anything I tried to do, and that was, of course, very helpful. Learning how to play instruments was something that I really, really enjoyed, and in fact, I every year I started playing piano when I was a kid, and didn't have the patience, one second grade or third grade, didn't have the patience to practice and really do it properly. Then when I was in sixth grade, I took up trombone. And then when I got to high school, I played trombone in the band. But I also every year took a different instrument in beginning band because I was just interested in learning how to do it. So I took beginning band every year on a different instrument.
Gosh, that's impressive. I played the flute in high school, but I never, never did anything after that. I could still probably pick it up and play, but
Oh, sure.
not, you kind of remember. But you, so your parents just you kind of were almost like got yourself involved on your own, it sounds like, and your parents were supported.
That's true.
What college because you endeavored in music through high school and college, and your bio said you got 2 degrees in voice performance and instruments, and then you spent 5 years on the road after college. How did you support yourself and get making money during that time? And
Well, on the road is what we were doing. We were playing music, playing in nightclubs primarily.
yeah,
We would play 6 nights a week, and we would go. It was the 70s, and at that time, a lot of hotels had big music rooms, band, where people would come and dance, or they would do like they do in Vegas. The bands would be show bands.
uh-huh.
And so we did some of each. We played dance music and also did floor shows. So I was supporting myself playing music. I got hired right out of college to join a band that was forming in California. That was going to be a four-piece band unit of its own that also was from time to time going to be the backup band for a celebrity. This was 1973, and the
Yeah,
celebrity was a woman by the name of Bach Yen, who was Miss Vietnam in 1965. So that was
really.
kind of a big deal, because the Vietnam War had just pretty much concluded in 1973, or right in the early 1970s. It was right before I graduated from college, which I graduated in 1973. And so I said, what an opportunity. And so I took that opportunity, joined the band. I met the leader of this band because I was playing in, nightclubs while I was in college, and we like go out of town during like Christmas vacation and in the summer vacations and what have you. And I learned a little bit about the business from where I was. I grew up in St. Louis, throughout Missouri and Iowa, but mostly Missouri. And this was giving me a more national view of how it worked. So I learned how it worked and met people and what have you. And then when that band finished its run, I felt that I had learned enough to actually be able to put one on together on my own, which I did. And then that toured in one form or another for the next 4.5 years.
Gosh, that's amazing. So you kind of what it taught you was a little bit of the business side of it, I guess.
Absolutely. You bet.
That's great. What made you decide to go back to St. Louis and it says you got a real job and make the move to learn? Because then you learn more business skills.
Well, it's a funny thing. I was married at the time, and I had a young child, boy, and my wife. It was not a relationship destined for longevity, but my wife, when she met me, I was playing in a nightclub in Illinois. And that's what I was doing. But I think she had a feeling that I was not going to do that forever. And so when it became time for that band was going to have to either restructure or break up or what have you, she was determined that I was going to go and get a real job. So I did. I tried that and did that for a couple of years. The relationship didn't last the 2 years that I was in. I guess I was really in St. Louis for 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, I went back to St. Louis for 4 years, and I started doing theater avocationally. Really, it was community theater. I was just doing it for fun, especially once the relationship broke up. It was I didn't want to just be sitting at home by myself, so I was doing that really for recreation and fun. And got to be doing a lot of it. Started backing into some professional work in theater. And then I decided I was doing so much. I thought I better go back to school. I got a year. I didn't get a master's degree. I did get a year toward a master's degree in acting. And then the last year that I was in St. Louis, I was working a lot, both on stage and in orchestra pits, and in some cases conducting shows. But I was working pretty full time between the doing both sides of that. And so I went down to 1 day a week doing sales for the paint manufacturing company. And so I sort of socked away all of my money that I made at the paint company and lived off of what I was doing in theater in anticipation of moving to New York, probably in another year or so. And I ended up going in late August of 1982.
Right.
I was already 30 years old. Most people go to New York went right out of either high school or college.
Yeah.
I was on career number 3 or 4,
Well, did the business side of things come naturally to you? And I ask that because I interview so many different people in the arts, and a lot of them struggle with that part of they either have their spouse handle the business side, or they like the creative side, I guess.
I don't know that it would came easy to me. I understood it and understand it. I think very well now. Years ago, like 20 years ago, I was on the tourism advisory committee for Ocean County, which is where our theater is, in Ocean County, New Jersey. And the executive director said a similar thing to me. She said, I've never met somebody that is both left-brained and right-brained at the same time. Which is kind of what you said. It's usually either one or the other.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So did it? I don't know that it necessarily came. I guess, yeah, maybe it did come easily to me, but not that easily, because I never really was interested in math when I was in high school, for instance.
Yeah.
But I use a lot of it. And if you think about it, music is really math.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. It's sort of like math with feelings.
Yeah. That's right. That's a good way to put it, though. Well, after all this, you learn quality control. Explain what that is, and from there you said you were learning special products, and then
yeah, that was for the paint manufacturing company. I worked for that same paint manufacturing company for a couple of years when I was in high school during summers. I guess my freshman year and sophomore year, I was doing quality control, and I learned it. It basically means when you're in the factory, they make a batch of paint, and you have to test it for thickness. In other words, viscosity. You have to check it for coverage. Does it cover as well as the standard? You take one that they have in a can that's a standard, and you have a little bar that you put a daub of the standard and a daub of the batch, and you put it on. You pull it down on the bar, and it has black and white strips on it, and you can see whether they're covering identically. And then you also have to color match, and you have to check, is it too thick? Is it too thin? is the pigment ground up properly, or does it have bumps in it? There's all kinds of stuff you have to check for paint, quality control. And,
Yeah.
I would go, and if it wasn't quite there yet, and usually there would be a little bit of either water or paint thinner if it was an oil-based paint that was held out of it, so that you could make adjustments in the batch and get it to be exactly like the standard.
Right. Well, all these things kind of landed you into the community theater, and so you did that and still played in the bands. What was your first theater? What theater were you first working in?
I was a community theater in St. Louis County called Kirkwood Theater Guild,
Yeah.
and I remember doing a play that. What was the name of that play? I Can't Hear You When the Water's Running, I think was the name of the play. It was like 4 1-acts. And then the second play was I auditioned for them, was a production of Cabaret.
Oh.
And I ended up playing Clifford Bradshaw in Cabaret. Now, I had done some plays in high school, but that was another thing entirely. I remember the very first musical I did in high school was Where's Charlie? And I was in the chorus of that. And then I played Paul and supplied puppet voices for Carnival in my junior year. And senior year, it was Lunta in The King and I. And I also did a play called The Sound of Hunting. And David and Lisa. I did a couple of plays in high school too. But then I didn't really do theater at all until I was maybe 28, when I started doing community theater when I was in St. Louis.
Right. And then you got into the professional theater, and it said you were going back and forth between the orchestra pit and on stage. When you're in the orchestra pit, what instrument were you playing then? Or
almost always bass. Although sometimes I would play bass and conduct, like I did for a production of Grease. And other times, like for West Side Story, there was a different conductor who was also playing keyboards, piano, and I would be playing bass. And when I was doing Grease, just because the original orchestration for Grease is guitar, bass, drums, and keyboards, and 2 saxophones. And Worst Things I Can Do really screams for the saxophone. You really need to have that. So I would play saxophone on that number when I was in the pit, and then I'd play bass for everything else. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And then you went back. It said you went back to school, gaining a master's in New York for 5 years.
Yeah. I was in New York for 5 years. I did the year toward a master's in acting was in St. Louis, a college called Lindenwood College. When I was there, it's Lindenwood University now. I went there and took a year toward a master's in acting, and then moved to New York in 1982. Yeah.
Now, what did you take away from New York? I mean, what did you learn the most there, would you say?
Well, lots of things. Obviously I was fortunate. I worked a lot the first 5 years I lived there, but I wasn't working in New York. I was on tours. I did 2 national tours and a lot of regional theater. So I was working, in about 45 weeks a year, which is really good for somebody that's trying to be an actor or is being an actor. But it was all out of town. And then finally, after about 5 years, I auditioned. It wasn't the first Broadway show I auditioned for, but I auditioned for one and got one. And ended up being in that show. It ran for slightly more than 2 years, so it was a great opportunity to be in New York and live a life in New York and not be on the road and get in groups of friends and have a slightly more normal life, even though my work was largely afternoons and evenings.
Right. Well, so would you say it sounds like you had a lot of serendipity moments of being in the right place at the right time? Do you think that's how you kept just moving up? Because you always hear of it really hard to get into acting and theater and
Well, it was you can't get discouraged when you don't get the job. Now, fortunately, when I moved to New York, the first week I was there, I got an offer. Now, it was an offer to do a supper club show at the Clam Broth House in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is commutable from New York City. It's easy.
okay.
But it was just kind of, it's like, well, that's certainly not Broadway, but it was a job, so I took it. And I did that as long as because it was running mostly weekends, maybe 4 performances a week. And I did that until I got a show that was a little further away. And it was a leading role in an opera that was written by Charles Strauss, who wrote Annie, of course, and Bye Bye Birdie and some others. But it was called Nightingale, based on the Emperor and the Nightingale fable from from kids' lore from years ago, and it was playing at Alaska Repertory Theater in Anchorage. And so I was up in Anchorage from early November to mid-January. It was cold, but it was fabulous. I just loved doing it. And then I came back to New York and auditioned again, and fortunately got an ensemble job in a tour of Annie. The Broadway production of Annie was just closing, and this was mostly people from the Broadway production and the Fourth National Tour. And there were just 2 of us that had never done it before. But the director liked us, so we got hired, and then did that tour for, I don't know, 5 months or something. It was a long time.
God, that's amazing. You've been to so many places. And when you were talking about the 2 national tours, it was Pirate King and Pirates of Penzance and the Little Shop of Horrors.
That's right.
Yeah, and you earned am I saying it right? A Carbonell Award
That is
nomination?
right. A Carbonell Award nomination. I didn't win the award, but I got the nomination for playing in oh shoot.
Was it Starbuck?
Oh, Starbuck. Yeah, that's right. It's Starbuck in
110.
the musical version of The Rainmaker, which is called 110 in the Shade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, tell a little bit about that time period, and because how old would you have been during that, and how long did that?
Well, that was 1985. So that was, I'd been in New York about 3 years, and that was a period of time where I did that show and another one in Florida at one of the many theaters in South Florida. This one was called the Ruth Foreman Theater. And I did that and another show for them. And while I was there, the director of 110 in the Shade also was a resident director at another theater about maybe 40 miles away. And he was directing Evita, and they did Evita to tracks, but they needed somebody to teach vocals. And since I had been a musical director, during my off time during the days, I'd drive up to that theater, and I would teach the ensemble vocals and the principal vocals, and then I'd go back and I'd do my show at 9, and the next day I'd go back. So I was kind of working at both places. The thing that you said, people always say it's hard to do, and it is hard to do. Yeah. But I've never been one to turn something down because I didn't think it was good enough for me or something like that. For instance, the national tour, Pirate King, fabulous role, loved playing it, really learned a lot about playing comedy doing it. The next national tour job I got was Little Shop of Horrors, where I was the standby for the voice of the plant, the manipulation of the plant, the puppetry, and
Uh-huh.
also the dentist and those other 8 roles that the dentist plays. Uh, and so I was not even in the show. I was standing by. And they were remarkably hardy actors that never went out. So I spent 8 months, tagging along. But again, there's things to learn from whatever your position is. And then, I did the lead role in the show at Alaska Repertory Theater, and I was in the ensemble of the Tour of Annie. So most actors are going to end up doing both leads and featured roles, ensemble roles. The Broadway show was Anything Goes with Patti LuPone. It ran for 2 years, and it was great. I was in the ensemble, and I understudied the captain. I went on for the captain about 17 times, but it's a featured role, 17 times over more than 800 performances. So the rest of the time, I played my ensemble role.
God. Well, how'd you keep from just getting exhausted going through all that?
Well, I don't know. I guess I've always had pretty good energy, but it's what you it's what we do.
Yeah.
I could not have done what my wife's father did, and he was sort of like an inventor for DuPont, and he's on the patents of all kinds of plastic things, and other things as well. But I could not have done that 5 days a week, 40 hours a week,
Yeah.
for 40 years any more than he could have probably done what I do. We all find our slot in life. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily getting exhausted. It's, I absolutely love what I do, and have no interest in just, sitting around and watching television.
No, your passion is what drove you, I'm sure. What would you say is the most valuable thing you took away from those national tours? Because you did that before you got into off Broadway. What did you learn most about yourself, or what you took away from all that?
Well, I would say the necessity of consistency, which I actually learned when I was in college, because 2 of the years that I was in college, in the summer, I worked in the shows at the Six Flags Park near St. Louis.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and you're doing the same show 5 times to 7 times a day. It's only a half an hour or 40 minutes, but if you do it 5 times a day for 3 months, that's more than 1,000 performances. And the consistency and
Uh-huh.
learning the discipline of consistency, while at the same time making sure it's fresh and not just coming off as rote. Now that was that, but also in the national tour, same thing. With especially when I was on stage, less so when I was the standby for those parts in Little Shop of Horrors.
Right.
But I also watched what the people that were on stage doing from time to time. I didn't have to watch every performance, but I watched it from time to time, and I watched that consistency, and I learned that was a really important part of live performance. It needs to be consistent so that everybody that you're on stage with knows what to expect from you, as
Right.
well as the audience seeing it as if it's the first time.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Well, then, and it says you got your first off Broadway show. I guess that was in '87. Anything Goes and Patty
Anything
LuPone.
Goes was actually a Broadway show. It was not off Broadway.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but it was a Broadway show, and it ran for 2 years. It was great.
And then the Buddy Holly story in State Fair.
Yeah, Buddy Holly's story was 1990. What happened is Anything Goes ran from 87 to 89. And then when it closed, I auditioned for everything and got a job being in the ensemble of a production of Camelot at a dinner theater, which is commutable to New York City. And so I did that for 5 months, and then the Buddy Holly story came along, and I was able to get cast in that. And I was cast as that's really one of the trick things, I guess, maybe about my career, is that in the Buddy Holly story, almost everybody in the show has to play musical instruments.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And so I auditioned on bass, on guitar, and drums, and I sang. And I was called back, and I was, hoping to be cast as the Big Bopper. As it turned out, I was cast as the Bopper's understudy, another remarkably sturdy actor who never went out. But I also understudied a couple of other characters, and one of them was the Clear Lake MC, which is almost like a stand-up comic. I really didn't want to do that, but that's the one that I went on for. The guy did go out for a couple of performances. I had to go on for, and we're still friends. But they cast me. And then 2 days before rehearsals were to start, which was going to be in Toronto, because the show was going to open in Toronto. It had played in England already. It was going to open in Toronto and then play Edmonton and then San Francisco. Was it Edmonton? Yes, it was Edmonton and then San Francisco, and then come into New York. And 2 days before rehearsals started, I had put on my resume at the bottom, like most actors do with special skills, all of the instruments that I played, and I put them in descending order of proficiency. So bass was first, and trombone was second, and what have you. And 2 days before the rehearsals were to start, I got a call from England saying, "Mr. Jury would like you to bring your trumpet." Now, Mr. Jury was the music director, Paul Jury. Would like you to bring your trumpet. And I went, "Oh, great." Guess which was in order of the 11 instruments listed, guess which was last?
Was that the last one?
Yes, it was. So I really had to work hard because I could still play, but I hadn't played for several years. And so, I could play really well for about 3 or 4 minutes. And so you have to build up the stamina. It's kind of like going to the gym. The first time you go to the gym, you can't do as many reps as you can when you've been going for a year. Yeah. So I really had to practice a lot on the trumpet.
But you did it.
And eventually ended up, I played 4 or 5 instruments in that show. I did play bass for one number. I played guitar for one number. I played trumpet for the whole concert section and flute for one number in the concert section. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was great. But it took me a while to get ready to be the trumpet player in a Broadway show.
I can't imagine having to do that. But was it acoustic guitar that you played?
I'm both acoustic, electric, but for the show it was an acoustic guitar. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. And then you spent, I know we were talking about, you spent 10 years on the Council of Actors Equity Association and a Tony voter. And then you had a daughter. You and your wife had a daughter, Krista.
Yeah.
You were offered to helm that's how you came upon the Surflight Theater.
Yeah. It was a situation that when, I was in New York and I had, done another Broadway show, State Fair with John Davidson, and it was great again to do that. And I had also done a couple of off-Broadway shows, Annie Warbucks, which is the sequel to Annie, and A Return to the Forbidden Planet, which is a very unusual show that also requires people to play musical instruments. And so several people from Buddy closed and Return to the Forbidden Planet opened a few months later. There were several of us from Buddy that got cast in Return to the Forbidden Planet. So I remember coming back from an audition. Now, my wife and I had met while I was doing, I think Annie Warbucks, but she could tell me better. Uh,
Yeah.
um, and we got married in 1994, and it was this was 1997, and I came back from an audition again from a production of Cabaret for Broadway that was looking for people to play musical instruments, but it also required more dance than I'm capable of. And I remember being somewhat discouraged going to that coming back from that audition. I just remembered something else. Annie Warbucks was not when my wife and I met. We met before that because
Okay.
I was not going to go to that audition. And she says, "Oh, you have to. You have to go. Go ahead. You know, you don't have something else going on. You got to go do it." So I got up and went to the audition and obviously got the job. So that was because she pushed me to do it. This is before we were married.
Yeah.
Before we were married, I also started directing. I was asked to direct something at a and it was a comedy, a very fun piece called "It's Only a Play," and I had never directed anything. And my wife, who also has a degree in both nursing and theater, and was a stage manager and did costumes and makeup as well. She grew up as a dancer. She was a highly trained ballet dancer. Uh,
Oh, goodness.
but I remember saying, "But I don't know how to direct. I've never really done this." And she says, "Well, get the script." And she looks at me and says, "What happens?" She says, "Well, she said, "Well, somebody enters, doesn't it?" And I said, "Well, yeah, this guy comes in through this door." And I then started from that little nudge from her and wrote in the blocking. In other words, where everybody goes throughout the play, wrote it
Yeah.
all in as the lines happened throughout the entire thing. And I remember, within a few hours, writing down the blocking. I said, "Well, I guess that's what I have to do. I have to tell people to do all this stuff." And then from that point, learning about giving people motivation and making sure that they find the way to act a line or a scene within themselves rather than me saying it to them and then repeating it. Because if I say it for them and they repeat it, then it's not organic. They're just copying me as opposed to finding it within themselves. So that's
You,
something I had to learn how to do, how to teach, how to direct people that way as well.
you have to pull out their emotions
Sure,
somehow.
absolutely.
Is that right? Right. Now, what is the difference between artistic director and performing artistic director?
Well, it's not performing; it's
I
producing
mean,
artistic
producing.
director.
Yeah, I wrote that wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It's producing artistic director. The difference is that they're two separate jobs. The producer is the person who's ultimately responsible for making sure everything is hired and everything is financed properly and everything, all of this stuff comes together. And you hire the artistic staff, whether it be the people that design lights or scenery or
Uh-huh.
costume, what have you. And the artistic side is doing. Making sure that the play or the whatever's happening artistically is
Yeah.
happening the way it should be. And part of that is hiring, because if you hire directors who who you trust, who you have a relationship with, you know that you can pretty much let them run with the play that they're directing or choreographing or whatever it is. And I can then sort of come in at the end as a new set of eyes and say, well, this little thing, what do you think about adjusting this? Or you have to watch when the two people are standing like this, the people way over in the corner in the second row can't see one of them. So you have to adjust the way they're standing on stage, things like that. All of that. So basically, I guess producing artistic director is two jobs.
Right.
And so I guess I'm doing two jobs, but we have a small year-round staff here, so everybody's in on it. It's not a one-man band by any way of thinking. But
Right.
yeah, it is really two separate jobs, and in many theaters, there is the artistic director who's in charge of everything artistic, and then there's the managing director who's in charge of everything financial. Um,
Okay.
in our case, we have me being the producing artistic director, which is theoretically in charge of everything artistic as well as everything financial. Although we also have we don't have a managing director, we have a general manager, and the general manager does the execution of all of the day-to-day financial things. I just do the budgets and oversee it and make sure we have proper cash flow and that kind of stuff.
Well, I want you to share how you turned it around because you did so many things with Surflight, and it talks about how you turned it around, and there was some ups and downs, and you share a
Well,
little
sure.
bit.
Yeah, when I came to Surflight in 1998, it was after that audition that I wasn't really enjoying very much, and Gail and I had sort of talked about she'd always wanted to maybe later in life manage a small theater or something like that,
Uh-huh.
and we sort of came to the conclusion that we think we know what we're doing, but shouldn't we try to do this on somebody else's dime first? Why don't we see if we can get hired by somebody else to do it? And
Yeah.
so this theater was advertising for an artistic director, and so I applied, and somehow fooled him into thinking I knew what I was doing. So he hired me, and he really wanted to retire, but it was a commercial entity at the time, and he thought no one wanted to buy a theater. And so after being here in 98, 99, I started thinking about how can we get the Friends of organization. There was a nonprofit Friends of organization that raised $10,000 to $13,000 a year for the intern and apprentice program here. And so I started thinking, well, how can we engineer this so that Scott gets his way? He gets bought out,
Yeah.
and it gets value for his property, and at the same time, the theater can then become a nonprofit organization and apply for grants and funding and what have you. Uh, and so I worked out a deal with the Friends of organization and the New Jersey Economic Development Authority to get tax exempt bonds to help fund the purchase of the theater from the owner at that time. And in the same time, we were building the audience. The main stage audience was 23,700 and something in 1997, the year before I came here, and this children's theater was about 14 to 15,000, and that was all there was.
Uh-huh.
There was nothing else. So we started adding other programs, and we were building the audience. By the time we got to 2009, main stage audience had grown to more than twice as much at 52,000, more than twice as
Wow.
much of 23,000 and change. And the children's theater had grown to about 20,000 from 14, 15,000. We also added a comedy series and a concert series. We were doing classes. We were doing, all kinds of other programming along with it. And then in 2010, we were also, we had been approached by a promoter who owned a radio station near Atlantic City and did a lot of concert promotions in Atlantic City, rock concerts. And he was asked by the one of the executives. It was three hotels that had the same ownership. Yeah, it was asked by one of the other hotels in that ownership. My audience skews older, and the rock concerts really aren't for them. What do you think about? Have you ever considered doing Broadway? And of course, he said, "Sure," having never done it. Uh, and he asked the local arts and entertainment writer where he could get product, and that guy sent him to us. And so we ended up doing 2 years, six shows, worth 3 shows a year of shows in Atlantic City, which were great because it was earned income that we were making to help support the work of our theater, because they were paying us to put these shows together for them. And so that ended up being a lot of different things that we were doing to help build the budget of the theater from when I got here about 600,000 to nearly 3 million.
Goodness.
Yeah. So that's what we were doing. And and then in 2010, the board of this nonprofit, many of whom I helped bring onto the board over the period of time from when it was purchased in 2001 to 2010, got, as so many boards do in nonprofit, not just arts, but nonprofit in general, they get executive director fatigue. And they decided that they wanted to bring somebody else in. And they didn't like that we were doing shows in Atlantic City, and didn't like that they didn't get their name on the shows in Atlantic City, which frankly, that wasn't the purpose. The purpose was to make money to help support the theater.
Yeah.
So they decided to let me go after 13 years and hire somebody else. And they did indeed take it in a different direction. They over the next 4 years, they went bankrupt twice, and closed Chapter 7 and put the theater up for auction. It just so happened that the auction didn't garner enough money, that the banks and the other people that were owed money from the theater, so they canceled that, and they decided they were going to try to sell it. And over the next 2 years, I had spent, from 2011 to 2014, I started a different theater company about 15, 20 miles from here. And we were doing shows over there in other buildings, but it was a nonprofit. And so over the 2 years, then from 15 and 16, I was working on finding a way to actually purchase the buildings and have it start over again, basically. And as it turns out, just before Christmas of 2016, I proposed this idea because the banks wouldn't, because of the history of the theater, of it going bankrupt twice recently, they wouldn't allow the theater company to a loan to be able to purchase the theater.
Right.
They said, find somebody that could put in 25 to 30 or 35%, down payment, and we'll be real interested in, giving a mortgage to that person. So we approached several people, and including one was the promoter that hired us to do those 2 years of shows in Atlantic City in 2004 and 2005. He did the research on what happened in 2011 to 14, and came to the conclusion that it wasn't what we did prior to that. It was the board made a giant mistake. And so he decided to purchase it and lease it to our theater company that had been doing shows 20 miles away on the mainland. So now our theater company, Ocean Professional Theater Company, is the resident company who produces and manages everything here at Surflight Theater, which is actually a building. Theater is a building. It's not really a theater company, but everybody knows it is a theater company, so it's a DBA for us.
Oh wow! Well, you've turned it around, so that's great. That's pretty.
Next year will be year number 10 since reopening in 2017.
And it says something about you had more than 24 seasons of regional theater.
Yeah. So it would be the 13 years I did at Surflight originally, and then the 9 years here. So that's 22. Plus we did 3 seasons over on the mainland about 20 miles away. So yeah, that's lots of seasons.
So I guess that bringing it back around would be one of your most proud moments of Surflight, being able to get it back on track again. And
Well, yeah, there's that. There's a couple of unusual things that happened. Of course, during COVID, our industry, our industry requires public assembly, and public assembly was outlawed during COVID.
yeah.
But eventually they let like restaurants start serving on sidewalks and outside, and
Uh-huh.
they came to the conclusion as they learned more about COVID that outdoors was pretty safe. And so once they said that we could have assembly of more than 100 people, and I think it was 250 originally here in New Jersey,
Right.
we erected a tent and a stage and put in lighting and sound equipment and did an abbreviated season in 2020 and 2021 in the tent across the street in the park. That was a pretty proud moment too, because in 2020 we were maybe one of 10 or 15 theaters in the entire country that was actually operating.
Wow, didn't that's amazing. So
Yeah.
that's good. That was good. So the tent, how long did you do the tent before you could get back?
It was 2 seasons. The first because the first season there was no vaccination. You couldn't even get vaccination until after that. The summer season. I think it was like October or November. I don't remember exactly, but it was somewhere in there when we were able to get vaccines for COVID. But I told everybody, I said, all right, we're going to do this season. We're going to do it outside. We have housing here. Everybody's going to live in our housing. We have housing for like 55 people here. So we're going to just socialize with each other. You really can't socialize with anybody else, because if this thing gets into what we're doing, even one person, the whole thing stops.
Yeah.
Because there was no vaccine, and it was deadly at that time,
Yeah.
But we went through the entire season. Not one person on stage or backstage or anywhere within our theater bubble got COVID, and so we were able to do it from early July until late September. And then after vaccination started happening, we could do socially distanced seating in the theater, which meant that, there'd be, it's every other row and several seats in between each group of people, so it was, we could only seat about 100 people.
Yeah.
And same thing, honestly, in the tent, because we had to change the seating for every single show. So it'd be 2 people, and then 6 feet, and then 4 people, and then 6 feet, and one guy that bought a ticket by himself, and then 6 feet, and then 6 feet behind. And so we rearranged those folding chairs on the grass every single show. And that was 7 shows a week, 5 children's theater, and usually 2 concerts. So 14 times a week we had to change the seats. But it was, and we lost money. No question we lost money. But we would have lost so much had we not done anything, that we would not have been able to survive past it. So the whole idea was to get to the other side of it, to get to where COVID wasn't doing what it was doing.
Yeah, right. Well, what would you say has your journey taught you the most that you value, that you would teach to other aspiring actors or theaters and musicians who want to get a similar journey or get into theater? What do you value the most about, that you would share to them or teach them?
A couple of general things.
Okay.
One is, it's more important to keep working, because that's where you're learning, than only audition for this kind of job.
Yeah.
Maybe it's you're going to play the lead in this show, and you're going to be in the ensemble at this other show, and it especially early on, do all of that you can, because working and building your resume, whether it's got some leads and it's got some ensemble parts on it, good. That shows that you're able to do first of all, both. And the other thing was somebody that was a general manager at a hotel in Columbia, Missouri, where I was growing, where I was in college, but my band was playing at that summer at that hotel nightclub at the Ramada Inn in Columbia, Missouri. And he said, because I'd had the band there a couple of times, and he said that you've always got this incredibly positive outlook, and whatever it is that you do, so many people in your business get very cynical about the business. Don't get cynical.
Yeah.
And I remember this from more than 50 years ago. That particular guy was commenting about the positive energy that I bring to what I do, and commenting, about making sure that I don't fall into the trap that so many in the business fall into, which is getting cynical or down about it or what have you. You're not going to get every job you audition for, but keep auditioning for them. Keep working. Sometimes you need to create your own. There are people that do very, very well that don't get hired by somebody else and then create something and turn it into a career. John Leguizamo did that. He was first a solo artist, and now he gets hired all the time as an actor.
Well, that's great advice for anybody not to get cynical, because it is easy to do that in any industry, but especially think of the arts, and I think that's really great advice, Steve. What does acting and directing mean to you the most? Like, what side do you prefer of between the two? Or it sounds like you just like all of it. But.
Well, you're right. I do. There's very little in what I do that I dislike. Sometimes, when necessary, I've played in the orchestra pit here at this theater. When somebody didn't make it, or if we just decided we wanted to have an instrument that we couldn't afford, and I'd play it, so I didn't need to pay somebody else to do it. You did ask a question on your list that you didn't ask, and it was about high school, and you asked if I played in. That's all right. It was you asked about marching band, if I played in the marching band.
Oh, that's right. I meant to ask that.
That's right.
But
and I did not. There's a lot of positives to marching band, like teamwork and learning teamwork and learning how to work that way. But very little about marching band, in my opinion, helps musicianship, because while you're walking and marching and turning and what have you, does nothing for your embouchure. It does not help you to become a better player. So if you want to become a better player, marching band, in my opinion, doesn't do much for you. However, if you want to learn how to work within a team like that's not a sport, marching band's great for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I meant to ask you that. I don't know how I overlooked it.
We just ran through a whole bunch of stuff. Who knows?
I know. But okay, did you have a big 60th celebration for your entertainment career?
Not really. No, I just dove in. I guess I didn't think about it.
But I think that's really impressive. You started so young.
Yeah.
And I admire that. It took me a long time to really find my real purpose, and much later in life. But I think that that's really great that you have enjoyed such a long career, and you were willing to take on, keep your pride down so that you could take on all parts of it. And that's probably why you didn't get cynical. You just kept moving and keeping the momentum going.
Yeah, when I was doing the band thing, I even did it making sure everybody got featured throughout. You know, we had several people within the band sang several, and we did a lot of group harmony and what have you. Because at that time in my 20s, I figured I might be great once or twice an hour, but I'm going to be boring all night long. But if we move it around to everybody, you know, then everybody, first of all, enjoys it more, and nobody's just a backup person. Not that just a backup person is necessarily bad. The just probably shouldn't be in that sentence. But this way, everybody has a chance to participate and to be featured. It in my opinion is more interesting for the audience to find all of the abilities of all these people, you know.
Right. Yeah. Well, what's next for you, Steve, and for Starflight Theater? Is there?
Well, on the 5th of November, which as we're recording this is coming up next week, but people are going to see this after the 5th of November. On our website, we'll be announcing our 2026 season. And so there'll be 9 shows, 8 of them musicals, 1 is a play, and as well as our concert series and our comedy series. And then in January, our camps go on the website, and they get really, there are summer activities, but they get sold out in January. They're very, very popular for young kids. So all of that stuff is coming up. And of course, we do have a comedy night that is a benefit for the Volunteer Fire Company here in Beach Haven, New Jersey. And that's on the 8th. A Center Stage Opera Company is doing Carmen. They're from Pennsylvania, and they come here every year and do a performance of an opera. And that's on the 15th. And then Elf is our musical that we're doing in December. And that's coming. It will start rehearsal on the 11th of November, and first performance is November 29th.
I think I saw
through the 21st of December. Yes.
Yeah, I think is Dwan Hayes going to be in that? I think she posted that. She's
Dwan will be in that. She's playing store manager and a couple of other characters.
Okay, good.
And we've got the best buddy ever. He's wonderful in Buddy the Elf. You know, wonderful, great tap dancer, great energy, sings great. He's that wonderful naivete that Buddy the Elf needs to have, and he's 6'8".
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh gosh, that's amazing. That is tall. Well, listen. What do you think, in your opinion, makes Starlight Theater stand out?
Surflight Theater.
I said Starlight. I meant Surflight.
You're not the first person to do that. Hear it all the time. Surflight Theater it has built a real family within not only the artists and technicians that work here, but also that have started here and gone on. Many of them extremely famous. And also with have that same familial bond really with a lot of our audiences. People that come here for the first time are usually quite surprised at the high quality that we produce here at the theater. We are sure that, you know, we could do just another production of this show and this show and this show, but whatever our season is, we always don't want to do just this. We always want every one of them to be up here, and we tell that to our company of artists and technicians that come here, and it's all based on respect. I respect the work you do. Make everything you do be the best it can possibly be. Maybe you came because you really want to be in a chorus line, but you have to be in Annie too, because that's a part of the season. And maybe you didn't like Annie, but if you make it be this, you'll find out that Annie is one of the best written shows of the last 50 years. It's really brilliantly put together. But most
Oh,
people don't have the same respect for that they might have for a chorus line. Respect everything as much as it possibly can be. Respect everybody who comes into our house. That's your fellow actors. That's the technicians. That's the people that might clean up. That's the guy that's walking down from the beach who needs to use the bathroom and will never buy a ticket. It
oh
doesn't
yeah.
matter. Respect everybody that comes into our house. And by the way you handle yourself, earn the respect of everybody that comes into our house. Do that, and everything's really going to be up here, rather than just here.
Oh, sure. Does your daughter have the same passion for the entertainment world, or?
Yes. Although she's come to where she is in a bit more of a circuitous route. She did study musical theater at Manhattan School of Music in New York, and has performed both for us and for other theaters. And she's very good, very fine. But it she found out while she was in school that she had a real talent for theater hair and wig design. And what
Oh,
she had took a semester while she was in college from a Broadway wig designer. And then he started calling her and say, I need somebody to be the wig person on this show. It was a production of Hair in central New Jersey. And so she went up there and she did that, loved it. Then she went to Connecticut and did wigs and hair for the Goodspeed Opera House, which is a really top quality place, theater, regional theater. And then she
uh-huh.
was the wig person for an off-Broadway show. And then she went back to Goodspeed, and now she's found that she really likes that. However, she also has been teaching voice and music theory at a music school in Connecticut. And so she's been teaching, and now she's doing musical direction for a theater near Hartford. And so she's sort of like me, finding different things within the theater world that she really likes. She'll still perform, but not as much. She really likes doing the wigs and the hair and the teaching of the kids.
Yeah, that's wonderful that she's sort of getting into the theater. I think that the wig designing sounds pretty exciting to me because I used to do hair for many years, and I follow someone on Instagram that does that. So I think that would be exciting
She
to.
loves doing it, and she's got apparently a real talent for it. She's designed a few shows for us now recently. Yeah.
That's wonderful. What would you advise someone who might be watching if they want to get involved with Surflight in any way, or is there?
If you're an actor or performer, you would watch our website in January for auditions, or go to the A1 auditions. I believe they're in Connecticut in January, because it's a combined audition where there's about 25 or 30 other employers besides ourselves, and we're all auditioning their audition. So that you audition for 25 or 30 potential employers at the A1 auditions. Or you could come to our auditions, which are usually in early March, and you'll see that on our website in January when we pick those days. If you're a technician or you're in college learning scenic design or carpentry or scenic painting or costuming or anything, we have at the college level, we have internships in all of the technical areas, including stage management and costumes and carpentry and prop making and scenic painting, you name it. And we do that, and they're paid. They are paid in internships, and they're all summer long when you're not in school. And the same thing for the actors. We have a lot of intern actors who we'll see a lot of them at the A1 auditions, although we also see pros at the A1 auditions. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, your landing page of your website is beautiful. I can't remember what it's a bunch of actors. They're dancing on stage. It's a beautiful photograph, and I
Oh
can't
yeah.
remember the title of the actual production, but it looks very beautiful and very professional. So it's beautiful. So
I'm going to pull it up and see if I can figure out what it is. What is that picture?
I know. I just
That's
did surflight.org, and it's the first
yeah,
one.
here it is. I'm trying to remember which show this is.
I know.
Uh,
Didn't remember. I meant to screen save it and pull it up in the interview, and I didn't do that.
I think this looks like Top Hat this year. Yeah, so it was Top Hat, which was the U.S. premiere of the musical adaptation of the 1935 movie Top Hat, which was Fred
Okay.
Astaire and Ginger Rogers. It
Yeah.
won the Olivier Award in 2013 in England, but it never came to the U.S. And so this was the first production in the U.S.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Well, and the photo is beautiful. It looks very professional.
Well, thank you.
I really like it. Well, I want to thank you for being here today, Steve, and congratulations to you for your 60th anniversary.
Well,
And
thank you.
yeah, I just think that's really impressive and exciting that you've kept that passion for so many years. Is there anything you want to mention that we didn't cover?
Well, you never asked me how old I was.
Oh,
I'll be
no.
turning next year. I'll be or at my next birthday, which is next month. I'll be 24 Celsius.
That's good. Okay, I'm gonna say that about myself too. Well, I want to thank my viewers for their continued support, and please share the replay of this interview. It'll be on Facebook. It'll remain on YouTube, and I'll be sending it to Canyon Star TV. And you can learn more about Surflight Theater at www.surflight, that's surflight.org. Join me on November 14th at noon Eastern Standard Time with Jo Marson. She is an ovarian cancer survivor who will be joining me, and she's here in Greensboro. And to your own success, just keep rocking it and take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you,
Okay.
Tamarah.